Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie DuBois and I am an awakening creator being just like you. And we are on this crazy ride together, and I just have an aspect of myself that is a real communicator that loves to share as I'm going through this awakening experience, hoping that I can bring information that might help you on your journey. So what I want to talk about today is something that I've written an article about, and I know that some people are not going to read, and I'm one of those people. I have a hard time reading, but I felt called to do the article because I had an incredible inner being session that showed me so much information that I felt it necessary to put it all down in a clear and concise way so that it might be of some value and service to other people. So I have actually another video planned where I'm going to go into that inner being session so that you can see how, my inner being works with me. But before we do that, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and talk about what was revealed to me in that session. So a few nights ago, I had an awakening experience, if you will. It was kind of like pulling together pieces of the puzzle for me. I woke up at 2 a.m. and I was like, why am I awake? And very quickly, I knew that, I was wide awake. And I knew that my inner being was pressing down to help me to understand some things. And I can't explain to you how that happened. I just knew things were coming to me and I needed to make sense of them. And so I put my hand on my heart and I connected with my inner being. So this is so funny. Look at behind me. My cat little bear wants to be in the video, I guess. Hey dude. That is just so cute. All right, so we're talking about the information that was kind of, I want to say, uploaded from my inner being. And in the process of writing that article, I got a lot of information. What are you doing? You are so funny. So I got a lot of information on the direct correlation between this highly polarized period of time that we've just gone through and bringing aspects of ourselves home so that we can move into higher vibrational frequencies within ourselves, the higher path of consciousness. This is where all of this is leading. What this experience that I had showed me is just how much our inner beings are working overtime to help us move up in the higher vibrational frequencies. How much it is like the top priority of our inner beings to get us on our highest timeline and to move us through our timeline to completion so that we can take that leap of consciousness to move into higher vibrational frequencies. So during this session, it was about 5 hours, my inner being began showing me this polarization period of time where we cannot help but see the outside world. Many of us before that, and I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos, before this period of time of this severe polarization, many of us that consider ourselves to be light workers or conscious or always working on themselves spiritually, many of us felt that we were not really interested in this world. It was like, yeah, don't tell me about politics. I don't want to know. I'm not interested in all of that. But something happened where the outside world became so loud that we could not help but participate. We could not help but be drawn in. And this was not by chance. Because what was revealed to me is the way we are integrating pieces of ourselves. And what I mean by that is, let me just explain we've got a construct here that we're in, and it's a video game, and we're playing all kinds of video games at one time. It's the best way that I can describe it. And each of those avatars that you're playing is a different aspect of yourself. So while you're having this experience here, which is the awakening experience, you've got all kinds of aspects in other realms, and not realms, I would say dimensional spaces, could be realms, that are all playing out the different aspects of the arc of time, if that makes sense. Everything's all going on at once. So you have these other aspects that you're not consciously, some people are, if you're doing past life work and you're diving into past lives, or what we consider to be past lives, you're conscious of this. But most people on the planet are not conscious of this, but it doesn't mean that they don't have other aspects that they have, that they're working, that are working here at the same time as they're here. So what this polarization period of time is that as part of this awakening process, it's extremely important that we integrate pieces of ourselves. Now, these can be skills, talents, and abilities. And if I really think about it, my experience has been that over the, before that polarization period was a period of time where I started bringing in the skills, talents, and abilities. Cryon would call that mining the Akash. So when we mine the Akash, we go and we get skills that we have. Like I was able to pull in an aspect that's a common law lawyer, attorney, in fact, if you want to be accurate, in this lifetime. I see myself, the speaking, the video production, singing, dancing, performing. Aspects of that have been coming in for me for many years. In fact, I've always exhibited, and most of us have, right? We have our innate skills, talents, and abilities, but we're bringing in more of them, and we're honing them, and we're bringing them online. But in addition to that, those are what I consider the favorable aspects. But there's this other side that might not be all love and light, that might not be having positive experiences, that might be having negative experiences, that might be, really having traumatized experiences that are impacting us because it is part of our projected essence from our greater being into this aspect, and then all the other aspects. So what I was shown is that this polarized period of time was necessary to kind of show us in the world what would trigger us. All right, what triggers us? And the louder it was, or is, may still be for some people, the louder those triggers are, the more your inner being is trying to get you to work with the energy of it. So the work that I was doing was really helping me to integrate and resolve some things that had been really plaguing me over the last couple of years, which was revealed to me in this work that I was doing with my inner being as self-hatred. Now, it's not the first time that I've recognized that quality in me. A lot of times through this last couple of years, I felt myself being triggered into places where I was so tired of being, and I guess you could say from the polarization, and I did talk about that in one of the last videos. The polarization that I was feeling was triggering things in me that really involved judgment. And I guess that's what the inner being was showing me. So I carried a lot of shame. I talked about that as well, for being so polarized, for being what I would consider judgmental, or thinking I know better, or being so harsh and quick to jump, and sensitive. And so upon introspection, it's very easy for me to see how I began to run from that shame. Okay. And it actually materialized in me withdrawing from other people. And this was projected in all kinds of ways, from me getting my channel taken down on YouTube, which I talked about, getting kicked off Twitter, which I had been very, like watching posts and responding and sharing and all that kind of thing. So I felt like I was participating in the world. To having problems with Facebook where I couldn't keep in touch because I didn't have Facebook on my phone. Those kinds of things, and then actually withdrawing from my immediate family, who is so dear to me, but at oftentimes at just different vibrational spaces, to where I couldn't stop my energy from bleeding over into their energy and in disrupting their world, and then not being able to handle and being super triggered by them being in my world. And what that did was that led me to leave my family home and get my own place, which during all of this, what my inner being was helping me to see is that none of that was bad. It was actually necessary. It was actually a necessary part of my journey. So that was the first thing that was shown, is that, okay, number one, do you see that you have a lot of self-hatred? Yes. Yes. And, it even moved into spaces of looking in the mirror and just seeing ugliness. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but, I'm a little bit older. I'm getting, into my mature adult, and I was just seeing old. I was seeing old, and I was projecting that out everywhere. And I was hating it, right? Self-hatred was another aspect. But what my inner being was showing me is that this period of time was extremely critical, because all of those pieces of self-hatred are all the pieces in your other aspects that you really might not be aware of, that you dissociate from, that you project out into the world, but that need to come home. So I got a really good exercise, and I'll talk more about that in the next video, about what that actually looked like. But because I started withdrawing, and because I started dissociating from the negative aspects, I became more and more full of this self-loathing, that it came to a critical point where it needed to be dealt with. I would say that I worked through a lot of it over the last couple of years, but this experience was actually showing me, almost from a very non-emotional standpoint, I will say that, it has been revealed to me and shared to me by others and experienced on my own, that right around March, the beginning of March, somewhere between the 9th and the 12th, we had a much bigger infusion of our inner being come in. And those of us that are highly sensitive, and I'm sensitive off the charts, people, you instantly knew something had changed. You instantly had a sense of, oh my gosh, I think I'm starting to understand this. And there has been a releasing of an emotional aspect to all of this with that infusion of the inner being. As you start to understand what's happening to you, it becomes less of an emotional investment. You're more like on a discovery of path of, oh, what's this about? Oh, what's that about? Oh, tell me more. Rather than, oh my God, ow, this hurts, get me out of here. Which is really what I feel like the last couple of years were for me. Very sensitive, easy to trigger, mood swings from one end to the other. I mean, I don't know if you can relate. Maybe it's just me. I don't think so, because I know other people that were experiencing it, but I'm not going to generalize. I'm just going to say that this was my experience. So, so unfortunately, even though I was becoming more and more acclimated to this new presence, and there's a lot of mellowing out of the drama, because I started to understand things, this particular inner being session was necessary for me, it was more like a reflection. It's almost like, those past life, you hear about a past life review. Let's sit down and talk, shall we? Let's figure out where you were at and why you were doing what you were doing. That's really what this inner being session was like. And what I was shown is that what I would do when I was triggered is that whatever triggered me was something that I could definitely see in myself. So let's say someone triggered me and I would be like, oh, this person, da, 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 da. And I'm vocal. So I would express, hey, I don't know as I like this, da, 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 right? I was very vocal and I guess it comes along with the whole standing in your power thing. That's been a big thing. Speak your truth and stand in your power. I mean, I took that to the nth degree. And because of that, because I was vocal, I probably even hated myself more because I knew that it wasn't just vibes I was giving off. I was literally telling people exactly what was triggering me. And some people who like to trigger you will go ahead and take full advantage of that and try to trigger you more. And we'll get into that in another video. How I handled triggers was I have been aware for a long time of each of these triggers being a projection of something inside of me. So I would say, yikes. Now I feel bad that I was triggered, because if I really go into that energy, I do realize that I carry that quality and that trait too. And if I throw a dagger at them, I'm really throwing it at myself. So what I would do is I would forgive them. I would give them a pass. I would say, hey, I can't judge you for this. I'm doing it too. And I thought I was releasing it, but the truth is I kept getting triggered. And I think what the inner being started to show me is that the reason why I was getting triggered is because I had not gone in and really taken a look at those triggers and really seen deeper into the situation. Now, of course, all of this unfolds, and I do believe that after that March infusion of the inner being energies, this massive upload, that I was able to see it more clearly. So the inner being wanted to walk me through and show me exactly what this looked like. All of this boiled down to judgment of others and judgment of myself. The judgment is what created the self-hatred. So when I was triggered by all kinds of things, I'll say I get really triggered when people are judgmental. Well, what does that say, right? I get very triggered when people play the victim. And what does that say? I had got really triggered when people complain. What does that say? Whatever judgment I was making on others, and this happened out of that polarized period of time, and everyone was getting it, not just me, okay? What I was shown is that through that judgment is where the self-hatred came in, right? So then I was led through a process of, okay, what judgments were you making and why? And I can get into more explanations about that in the next video that I'm going to do about the inner being session. The primary thing that I wanted to relay here is that if you felt yourself going through this polarization period, you might just want to reflect back. Put your hand on your heart and say, what was this period of time for? I know that a lot of different people went through different experiences over that period of time. This last couple of years has been a pulling away, if you will. There's a great emphasis right now on working with yourself, but the codependence has been rampant. This is, in my estimation, this is what's keeping people trapped in this reality, in this lower vibrational reality, is codependence. Because what codependence does is it stops you from going in and exploring you. And you are where your inner being resides. And for every moment you're doing for others, you are not spending time connecting with yourself. And this process that we're in right now requires us to be present with ourselves. You know, your inner being is working with you. And what I see from this polarization period of time is that it's necessary because we have to break the codependency of expecting to get this stuff outside of ourselves. It's not coming from the outside. And the more we focus on others, and the more we focus on pleasing others, and the more we focus on playing nice and not being our authentic being, like being triggered but pretending we're not triggered, all of that stuff is going to become very, very difficult, because it's like this polarization is what is breaking the codependence, if you will. So I'm going to talk more about that in another video. But for right now, I think I'd like to just sort of stop there, to just have, to sum up that the biggest things that I was shown in this is how the polarity has kind of forced us to deal with our shit. We got to deal with it. And if we're not dealing with it, it's going to get worse. So dealing with it means acknowledging it, paying attention to it, taking it seriously, listening to yourself, less focus on others, more focus on yourself, putting up boundaries so that you can not be sucked dry by something outside of you. You need all that you are right now, your full consciousness, to be focused on self-care. I think I'll leave it there. And I cannot wait to come back and record my next video, which is the actual experience of working with the inner being and what that feels like to me and what happened in that particular case. And then another upsurge of inner being integration that just happened. So I'm going to go into that in the next video. I'm telling you, I've got so much information coming in that it's hard for me to settle in and think in terms of one thing. I just want to go choom choom to all the different things that are coming in. So thank you for spending this time with me. I really appreciate your energy, that you're actually just spending time here listening to what I have to say. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you. And I guess I'll just say goodbye until next time. Namaste.